If you're a creative professional out there, chances are you're satisfied working with the monitor or monitors of your choice. I'll be honest with you, I love editing videos on my Dell P2700Q 4K monitor. It has served me well for more than 2 years now, and my reasoning behind choosing that panel was obviously the UHD resolution, and the icing on top of that was the IPS display 10-bit support with a display that supported 99% of the sRGB color gamut. But that wasn't cheap, and it came with a cost of $700. And that shouldn't be a concern for most professionals, since it is a necessity to produce content that's color accurate, and at the end of the day, that's their source for generating revenue. But if you're starting a career as a creative professional on your own, you might be looking for affordable options that won't sacrifice features, and I think BenQ has something for you. But before that, quick look at our sponsor.
Light up your build with Q Plus by NZXT. It fits into 2.5-inch drive slots, comes with 4 individually controlled RGB strips with plenty of connection cables for best routing, and is wonderfully controlled through the CAM software. Get 10% off at nzxt.com, link in the description.
This is the PD2700Q 27-inch monitor. What's impressive about this panel is its price at $500, and the features that come with it might be an attractive option for you creative professionals out there. More specifically, you're getting a 2560 by 1440 resolution IPS panel with native 10-bit support and 100% coverage of the sRGB color gamut. If I were to put this in simple terms, these specs are very comparable to the P2715Q except for the resolution, but I'll get to that in a moment. From a design standpoint, there's not a lot going on here, which is good for blending into a work environment. The bezels are not flush with the screen, but the build quality is pretty robust in my opinion. The screen is matte coated, and it did a great job diffusing reflections even in a bright room. It's not as pretty as some of the LG monitors that we've taken a look at, but let's be realistic here. How many of you care about aesthetics for a monitor? Leave a comment down below. The assembly process was fairly simple. The stand came attached to the monitor, and attaching that to a base plate was just a matter of tightening the screw to it. If you prefer to VESA mount this panel, the only option here is a 100mm setting, so keep that in mind. The stand offers 25 degrees of tilt, swivel, and even landscape to portrait configuration. There's also 130mm of height adjustment, and the stand comes with a flat base, so if you'd like to store items off your desk, you have that option. Taking a glance at the I/O, we have 2 USB 2.0 downstream ports followed by a single upstream port, but it's 2016, so I would have preferred USB 3.0. Moving on, we have a 3.5mm audio output, mini display port, full-size display port, and HDMI. It would have been nice to include a Type-C connector, but at this price point, I'm just going to waive it for them. On a positive note, they do include HDMI, mini display port to display port, and USB 2.0 cables. The 6 physical buttons to adjust the display settings were located behind the right-hand side of the monitor. When one of them is pressed, you're greeted with a quick setting like brightness, input, picture mode, and the last option is to dive in deeper into the OSD, which is where you can adjust the contrast, sharpness, gamma, color temperature, and the option to reset the color. The Picture Advanced tab is loaded with different profiles like Rec 709, sRGB, CAD, animation, low blue light output, option for darkroom setting, eco, and custom user profile. Now check this out guys, there's a dual view option where you can set half the screen to display the picture profile of your choice. For example, I can have the left side of the screen output an sRGB profile, and on the right I can opt for a CAD profile. You see, BenQ is marketing this monitor to be as flexible as it can, so it's satisfied the majority of creative professionals out there, and the results do speak for themselves. There's also system settings that you can play around with, especially if you want to assign custom keys. And now to answer the most important question. How does the display perform, and what's the experience like using one of these? It's fantastic. When compared to the P2715Q, I noticed the colors on the BenQ were a bit warmer, and this should be obvious since I've enabled the sRGB color profile on it compared to my custom profile on the Dell. Everyone has their own taste when it comes to picture profiles for displays, and this monitor is certainly flexible for the end user. Viewing angles were excellent with no contrast or color shift, but rather the color reproduction throughout the panel from side to side, top to bottom was just amazing, and this was expected from an IPS panel. It's sharp, easy to get accustomed to, and perfect for content creators. I also noticed just a slight amount of backlit bleed around the corners, but it's very minimal, so in reality, it's not a big deal. I did my testing by spending some time opening up previous Premiere projects that I worked on, edited a few recent voiceovers, and created thumbnails for recent videos. It was just like using my Dell 4K monitor, and I'll be honest with you, that monitor was scaled at 150% due to its 4K resolution, so technically it was just like using a 1440p display, and that made me realize something. Given the sharpness of the 4K screen, Windows still has a bit of catching up to do with its scaling, plus there wasn't a lack of screen real estate using the BenQ monitor, even when scrubbing through a video timeline. So for editing in general, you'll be happy using the PD2700Q monitor. Now, if you're into photography, this is probably where the 4K monitor reigns supreme over the BenQ, especially when you're editing high-resolution RAW files. But there isn't a significant difference between the two, and I'm sure most of you would be more than happy to edit on the BenQ monitor. Now, what about gaming for those times when you need to take a break from editing? Well, this is a 60Hz screen that doesn't have FreeSync or G-Sync, so don't expect miracles. However, its color depth and excellent contrast ratio sure makes games look really good. So there you have it, a wonderful new addition from BenQ for a relatively affordable price point targeted towards creative professionals. I actually have the PD2700Q paired with the Eurocom Tornado F5 for my second workstation setup, and it's primarily going to be used for testing hardware and maybe editing short videos that don't require intense CPU and GPU usage.
The Gram Spectrum keyboard by Tesoro comes with a new mechanical agile switch with low-profile keycaps with super fast response and shorter actuation distance, plus all the customization included with RGB lighting and macros for a premium user.
Alright, question for you guys. What are your thoughts about the PD2700Q from BenQ? It's not a gaming monitor by any stretch of the imagination, but for you creative professionals out there, would this be an attractive option, or are there any alternative solutions that you might be interested in? Let us know in the comments down below. I'm Ibra with Canucks. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.